Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the longest-running community podcast in the nation in our 20th year, brought to you by the amazing folks of Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in the community, whether it's food insecurity, it's literacy, it's the arts, or everything in between. Love to have this guest on because the content is so good and the mission is so important, and that is Douglas Morton, CEO of the San Diego Blood Bank. Always good to have you on, Doug.
Appreciate the opportunity. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you, too. I'm joined by a guest co-host. We have Nick Reinell. He's an adjunct faculty member for American Military University. Just killed it in his first guest hosting appearance with the Scripps Ranch Theater. And you ready for number 2?
Let's do it, Drew.
Absolutely. And joined by our senior producer of Cloudcast Media and the Spotlight on the Community Show, Brandon Joe, just graduated from UC San Diego. He's also an entrepreneur with a couple of his businesses. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing fantastic, Drew.
How's it feel to be a graduate of UCSD?
Holy, just so happy. So happy.
Well, you worked hard over those years and and juggled 40 billion things, and we're just honored that work you've been doing for us for 2 years now has been, top shelf. So appreciate that. And I know Nick, Doug has got a question for you. Nick has a question for you, Doug, right now.
Doug, welcome. What is the mission of your organization?
So our mission is pretty straightforward. This is our 75th year, and it's saving lives in partnership with the community. So connecting diverse communities to save and improve lives through blood and biotherapies.
Right. And, we talk about this all the time. I know January is National, Blood Donor Month. But really, every month should be National Blood Donor Month. And don't think that, okay, I've done my part in January, I can wait till next January. You folks need it all the time, do you not?
Oh, 100% correct. National Blood Donor Month is January, so it's a time to kick the new year off right. But really, we need consistent donors throughout the year. We have a program we call Guardian Circles, where we celebrate those donors that come in routinely to donate, not just when they hear a message or when there's a giveaway, but they come in, throughout the year. And ultimately, you never know when that patient needs that unit. So we'd encourage everyone to make it a habit.
Right. So when we talk about this all the time, that you always want to make sure you've got enough blood in the bank, no pun intended in this. And of course, that sounds so obvious, but from San Diego's perspective, do we have enough blood at almost any time? Does it ebb and flow based on the year, time of year?
It definitely ebbs and flows based on the year. Right. Our usage throughout December was well above what we had budgeted. That just happens sometimes. There were multiple massive transfusion protocols at some of our hospitals, which uses a lot of blood. So January is a good time for National Blood Donor Month to start restocking the shelves, so to speak.
Right, but if a big, and hopefully not here, catastrophic incident happens in January, okay, and where we need a lot of blood for whatever it may be, do we have to now borrow blood from some other blood banks?
Well, we have critical supplies, so we stock up the hospitals, and then we have a safety net actually at our headquarters.
Yeah.
If there was a major event, then yes, we can participate with other blood centers around the country.
Right.
We do the same thing. We're part of a group called the Blood Emergency Readiness Corps, where we set aside units in the event of emergency, and then everyone else does the same thing for us. So if something happens, we can get units very quickly. By and large, though, our community has been good to sustain blood supply. Right. I'm always hesitant to say that because I don't want people to relax, but we've got a great community.
Yeah, and they never should relax in this area. As we talked about in the previous show, Nick is a Marine and all that. Do we supply blood to the military if they need it, or they have their own blood supply?
They do some of their own work, but we also supply blood to the military. We provide blood to the Naval Hospital here, and other times we ship up to I forget the name of it up.
Camp Pendleton?
Camp Pendleton,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Talk a little bit about what are biotherapies. Talk about that.
So biotherapies are other things you think about related to blood. So blood transfusions, people understand. That's pretty straightforward. But there's other products. For example, intravenous immunoglobulin is a product that's created from plasma. That's used for a lot of chronic diseases. Leukopak collections, which are collecting different types of white cells specifically, those can be used for cancer treatments. We've done some work on clinical trials, and we have donors that just love to help in another way, right?
Right.
So donors love to make a difference.
How much you folks put into research on thinking about, okay, have we tried this approach? I don't even know what I'm even talking about, for God's sake. As you know, my father was a medical doctor and all that business. None of it rubbed off on me. I'll tell you that right now. But how much do you research about, boy, if we do this, if it goes through this, we now can increase this part of the blood supply. Is that happening?
It is. That type of research happens throughout the industry. We do some of that ourselves. Some of it we just tie in with the industry as a whole. For example, something we recently implemented is a device, an automated whole blood processing device called Revios. What that allows us to do is draw a unit of blood and separate all the components in an automatic fashion, and then start creating what are called whole blood derived platelets. That's a product that hasn't been used in California in 20 plus years.
Well, for what reason?
So initially, we moved away from that to what's called single donor platelets on a machine because of concerns about bacterial
contamination.
Yeah, because it's a room temperature product. Since that time, we've now developed new methods for bacterial mitigation strategies, and so it's a very safe product, and it has some additional advantages for certain types of patients, these pooled whole blood derived platelets. And so it allows us to utilize the whole blood donations we're getting. It doesn't replace our single donor platelets. We still rely on our great donors to keep the single donor platelet program going, but it allows us to augment our supply.
We're chatting with Doug Morton. He's the CEO of San Diego Blood Bank. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my guest host, Nick Reinell, adjunct faculty for American Military University. Also joining his regular co-host with me, Brandon Joe. He's the senior producer for Cloudcast Media. Brandon, you got a question?
I have, two questions. One of them, I'm curious if my generation is donating blood. Is that a thing? How much is it? Is this similar rates as other generations, or what's up with that?
No, that's a great question.
Well, that's not good to hear.
So there's two things going on. If you look at just the population pyramid, birth rates and whatnot, right? That the population pyramid is inverting. We're getting older as a society, which is also when blood is mostly used. When you hit 70 beyond, that's when a lot of blood is used. So we really need the current generations to step up. So we're trying to get the word out on college campuses, folks earlier in their career, just to make it a habit, because there is still no replacement for human blood.
Yeah, I mean, I have to thank you, first of all, because their organization actually saved my mom's life years ago when she was giving birth to me. I had a twin brother that was a tumor in the womb. And so when I was also a C-section, and so when she was delivering me, they accidentally sliced the tumor and my mom started bleeding out.
Wow.
And so she drained the entire hospital of blood.
Wow.
But they managed to keep her alive because of the blood that was donated. And so to this day, I was that close to not having my mom because of all of this. So I have to thank you so much for your work.
Oh, well, of course, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, really for the donors, right? The donors need to hear those stories, including donors that are your age, right? But understand, you never know who's going to be impacted, but it truly is a life-saving event.
And it's just I feel like it's the base for anything that happens in a hospital that's either from like moderate to severe. You need blood. And so these things save lives all the time, and you just don't know about it. It's not the fancy smancy, I'm going to create the new research and create like all that stuff. This is something that we always need. And it's not easy to always remember it because we're always looking at new objects, new shiny ways to contribute to society. But this is something that we need to bring our attention back to.
It's a really good point. So we talk a lot about cell therapies when we talk about biotherapies and these cancer treatments, and those are really exciting. But you're 100% right. The first cell therapy was blood transfusion. And that continues to be an absolute core of what we do.
Yeah, and to your point, Brandon, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. And to Doug's point, wonderful for the donors to hear that you do make a difference. And there's no such thing about, well, can I only donate? No, donate as much as you can that you're physically able to. When we come back from break, I know Nick has another question for you, Doug. And I always like to ask about what people can't donate blood. You've always been very lucid about which people can, which people shouldn't be doing it, and that aspect of it. And I always want to talk about, the next steps of what our listeners could do pre-hospital blood. Really want to kick back on the thing about getting the young folks involved. We return with Doug Morton. He is the CEO of San Diego Blood Bank. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we'll back after this short message.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 great years of doing things for us folk living in San Diego County. So pleased to have back in the studio. Can't have him on enough, to be honest with you. The topic is so critical, and that is Doug Morton, CEO of the San Diego Blood Bank, joined by my guest co-host, Nick Reinell, adjunct faculty for American Military University, and our senior producer of Cloudcast Media and the Spotlight Show, Brandon Joe. Nick, you had another question for Doug.
Yeah, Doug, before we went on break, you and Brandon were talking about age diversity and the need for blood. Are there any more categories that you need diversity in blood, ethnicity, anything else that you're looking for from donors?
100%. So we have a program that we call Precision Blood, which is we use a next generation sequencing to deeply type the red cells, looking at antigens, looking at 100 plus antigens. What it turns out is that to find that best match, oftentimes there's an ethnic match to the patient and donor. So to find the best possible match, particularly for donors that need a rare unit, something like that, we need diversity. So people don't think about that. Oftentimes we think about, hey, if we have an ONEG, it's a universal donor that can help us in trauma. That's 100% correct. But there's many patients that need chronic transfusions, and we need to give them the best possible match. So this is something the San Diego Blood Bank's been working on, and we're trying to advance that with Rady's Children's for children that need frequent blood transfusions. You can imagine you want the best possible match every time.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, you always just got told your blood type was all that mattered, and now you find out that there's so much more to that equation than you thought.
Great point.
We know, when we talk about blood groups, there's something, I think it's 38 blood groups now that are recognized, right? And people think, O, B, right. AB, right? But there's a lot more.
That's crazy.
And will there be more? Is that found out through research? How is that? Or genetics or genomes or everything in between?
That's right. So sequencing is a big piece of that.
Yeah.
So we have some equipment in-house now to be able to do this at scale. So we'll be typing every donor that comes in with what we call precision blood. So when we have a patient and we do a match, in our reference lab, we'll run the same test for the patient. We then have an algorithm that'll search our entire inventory and find the best possible match. And that's what we want to hardwire into all our hospitals so that every hospital has access to that data in a cost-effective way.
Well, and that sort of ties in, and maybe Brandon can add to this as well, is the fact that we always love to see what is technology doing for us, not against us, for God's sake. We talk about AI quite a bit. Does AI creep at all into the blood bank world, or not really?
Yeah, in a couple ways. So when I talk about precision blood, for example, there's more machine learning there than true AI, but over time, we want to understand what's the impact of some of these antigens, multiple antigens compared to a given patient. What's the positive benefit? We have a patient that spoke to our board and indicated once they started receiving precision blood that it extended the time between transfusions. So that's anecdotal initially, right? But we want to prove that out. And it's such big data with health outcomes. So that's where AI will start to play a role. We're also using AI for donor recruitment.
Nice.
So the question of, do you like to receive a text? Do you respond text that you receive in the morning versus evening? Would you rather get a phone call? So we're starting to do more of that for recruitment purposes.
Right. Doug, if I'm not mistaken, and again, maybe Brandon can answer this as well, when the summer hits, there's a drop-off on, of course, the students that are contributing because they're off and about with summer and all that business, right? But that's something that there's pretty serious drop-off, and you want to make sure people are continuing to donate throughout the year, especially for the students, correct?
Absolutely, throughout the summer. We are fortunate, I will say, though, here in San Diego because we have the big Comic-Con blood drive that happens in July of every year. So when elsewhere in the country they're hurting, we're actually in really good shape.
That's great to hear.
It's a good point. Again, we never want people to forget the need, but the timing of some key events here are important.
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying. They're fine. Don't need to donate. No, not true. Okay, we absolutely need to do those things. Brandon, what other questions do you have for Doug?
I'm kind of curious. How did you get involved in the blood bank in the first place?
Great question.
No offense, but I feel like as a kid, I would imagine one day I want to be the CEO of the blood bank. So I'm just curious how you got here.
Great question.
So it's a really good question. So this is my 25th year with the San Diego Blood Bank. I joined as the director of IT. So my background's computer science, which is a little odd, right?
Hey, me too.
Oh, okay. So I always tell people I'm a scientist, but not that kind of scientist, right? When you think about the blood. But in IT, as we started looking for solutions, you start learning what the lab does, what collections is doing. That's what you should do in IT, add value. So after I had been for about 5 years at the San Diego Blood Bank, I was offered a position to move into the chief operations officer role. And so I did that. So I was that for maybe 17 years and then have been the CEO for about the last 3.
Well, I mean, you've seen it from every different level, okay, in this area. How many folks work for the blood bank?
About 330.
Wow. And they most on the scientist side, what are most of those doing? Or that's all over the board?
The largest number is collections.
Okay.
Right, because that's face-to-face, right? And we want to have a great donor experience, and it's all about that people interaction.
Right.
A lot of lab staff as well.
Right. So you folks are certainly well known for your bloodmobiles, so to speak. And do they go out through all parts of the county? And is the toughest place to get to some of those rural areas?
We go all throughout Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we go out near the border to up into LA. And we've been doing that for decades. People don't always know that, but we supply all of Southern California.
Right. Let's talk about the rural areas for a while. So it's critical. You live out in Boulevard or whatever the case may be out there. They need blood just as much as we do in San Diego. Is it tough to get the blood out to them? Is there a good supply at hospitals out in our rural areas?
Yeah, rural hospitals present a unique challenge, but our geography is really not that bad compared to the middle of the country in places, right? So we're able to get product there pretty quickly.
Right.
We've used even volunteers to fly blood.
I was going to say drones. No.
Not yet. We've done some experimentation with it, but not quite.
Because would that compromise the blood? Is that why?
No, there's some flight path issues in San Diego, right? But we have so many military bases. There's protected airspace. So when we're working with someone on that, it's like there were so many paths we couldn't take.
Got it.
I think we'll get there, but just not there yet.
Yeah, got to work with the FAA on that as well. Nick, another question for Doug.
Yeah, Doug, you've talked a lot about the need for blood in the hospitals. What about en route to the hospitals or pre-hospital need?
Yeah, great question, because this has been a big national conversation. So we actually started this in April of 25. We put our first unit on an ambulance. We have about 14 ambulances right now rotating with a unit. They're stored in a temperature-controlled, GPS-tracked cooler designed for the military, actually. That works out very well.
That's very cool, yeah.
And so we've had, I believe the last number I heard was maybe 49 transfusions that have occurred in the field on an ambulance. And so you think about that, that's a very serious need, for that patient. And so life-saving, life-sustaining until you can get them to the trauma center.
Yeah. We're chatting with Doug Morton. He's the CEO of the San Diego Blood Bank. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. We are joined by my co-host, Nick Reinell, adjunct faculty member, American Military University in Brandon, Joe, senior producer of Cloudcast Media, podcasts on it. Talk about your Community Guardians program. That's interesting.
Yeah, so years ago, we were looking at, how do you make sure donors can come in consistently? And we didn't want people waiting until the next cool thing, right? So we have cool shirts and we have fun things like that. And so we want to make sure people come in. So really the conversation was, how do we reward those that do the right thing consistently, regardless of what the incentive might be?
Right.
And so that was the point. And so we incentivize, we call them appreciation items, really, because that's what it is. They're going to do the right thing, whether they get a shirt or not. We know that because they're coming in for the right reason, but we want to make sure they get those fun things as well. That's really where the program started. So we asked people to donate. It comes out to about 3 times a year to be part of the Guardian Circle program.
No, I think that's great. So, and I got my Marine next to me over here. And but in all seriousness, when you talk about something that is critical for a region, it's the blood supply. And so the bad guys, the nefarious guys, one way that they could probably hurt, besides doing other types of things, cyber attacks and all that, is probably take out the blood supply, correct? And not that you're going to give out all the secrets, and this is how we're protecting it, but you probably have pretty good security.
No, that's right. I mean, that's ramped up over the years, right? The need for that.
Yeah.
But, including cybersecurity, where we've seen hospitals that have been hit. Several large blood centers actually have been hit with cybersecurity attacks, which takes them down. One big one in Florida and another one in New York.
Really? So what happened when that attack hit? They just couldn't distribute. They couldn't communicate. It didn't cause the blood to go bad.
No, the blood wasn't bad, but they couldn't distribute essentially. And so around the country, blood centers leaned in to help with that.
Right.
But we're really wanting to make sure that we're resilient and protected from events like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug, you've been on the show a bunch of times. We always save time at the very end to say, what can our listeners do to continue to support the amazing work you're doing?
Well, visit SanDiegoBloodBank.org. Look for a blood donation opportunity near you. That's the key thing.
Right.
We have a big Padres blood drive coming up here in January. And then, again, start the year off right, donate in January, and then several times throughout the year.
Do you give tours at all? Or that's
We do.
Oh, did. Okay. So if you really want to see what is going on in it, take a tour, correct?
Absolutely. We encourage that, right? Reach out to us. You can do that through our website as well. And we like to set up some small tours. Excuse me. People often think, it's the blood bag they see that goes out to the hospital. Not true. There's a whole lab staff back there, and we can walk people through that process.
Well, as always, Doug, the content you provide is important. It's critical. As you heard, a great story from Brandon Joe, our senior producer, on what his mom went through. We look forward to having you come back in. Why don't you, not to break any HIPAA laws, but think about that. Work with Claudine. Would love to have you come in, and if there's some stories about bring a great donor in. Why does he donate, and maybe somebody who has benefited from the donation. Would love to have that.
That'd be great. We have actually a volunteer that's receiving a national award at an upcoming event in March. So maybe we can bring one of our great volunteers as well.
Consider that a done deal. Doug, always good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Very, very good. And Nick, another fine job. So you're getting to be pretty good at this. What do you think?
It's not too bad, yeah. Finding a bit of a groove here. It'll be good. Absolutely.
Pretty soon, you're going to be talking to your folks and say you're going to go start a podcast up in Camp Pendleton, and that's going to be it, correct?
We'll see.
We'll see how that goes. Very good. Nick Reinell, thank you so much for being my guest, co-host, adjunct faculty at AMU, and Doug Morton, always great feedback from the CEO. We're going to look forward to your return appearance from one of your, volunteers and donors, and maybe one of the people that received some of that as well. I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. Thanks for listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.